Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George. Today I am thrilled to be reviewing for you the brand new album from US thrashers with a twist, Enforced. The album is entitled War Remains. Look at that stunning artwork. That is dark and dismal. Gives a pretty good idea of the content, in fact. So, Enforced, they've been around for a few years now. I think they were formed in around 2016. And this, War Remains, is their third album. There is a little bit of dispute whether or not their first album is actually their first album proper, because it is in fact essentially reworkings and a collection of demo and previous material, or prior material. But that said, regardless, this is the absolutely stunning new album, following on from 2021's Kill Grid, which at the time I reviewed. I think it was one of the first reviews that I actually did on this channel, and it blew my mind because it's such a great combination of thrash aggression. You've got kind of punk edge, like a hardcore edge as well. There's also a decent injection of death metal as well. So you've got really extreme end of thrash metal, aggressive stuff. I can't really think of too many bands that I would say instantly Enforced sound like those guys, but I'm thinking more in the vein of bands like Demolition Hammer, maybe Morbid Saint, that kind of extreme end of thrash where it's almost verging on death metal at times. But that album, Kill Grid, that did blow my mind at the time. I was really impressed by that, the sheer energy and aggression. And once again, after not listening to that album, Kill Grid, for a good many months, it could be getting on towards, I don't know, 6 months to 8 months since I last heard it. I've been out of the Enforced loop, if you like. Pre-ordered this, arrived on the day of release, and listened to it on that very same day, and it absolutely blew me away. These guys have come a long way. At the same time, they've also remained true to their style. They very quickly and at a very early stage in their career found their niche, and they've been ploughing that furrow pretty actively since their formation. As I say, they've got two undoubted full-length studio albums, and then they've got that first album, which is kind of a little bit of a compilation, really. But they've been doing other bits and pieces in between. And this album is solid, absolutely solid. So as I mentioned, Enforced, they're actually from Richmond, Virginia, USA. A young band with a really diverse, but also original yet organic, yet not kind of replicated copycat sound. They have their own identity, essentially. And this album packs a serious punch, a really good punch. I mean, what really blew my mind was just how instantly memorable this material is. Normally it takes, 3, 4, maybe 5 listens to start to really get to grips with an album, for something to really stick in your mind. But actually, this was like from the first listen, maybe the second listen, it was instantly like, oh yeah, that really crunchy riff is coming up, or that great thrashing moment is really coming out there. Absolutely brilliant. It's not an overly long album, I wouldn't say. It's somewhere just over 30 minutes long, I think. But what we do get is we just get consistent material. There's no sort of intro and outro pieces. There's no interludes. There's no stops. There's no grand epic tracks. This is very short, very sharp, and very heavy thrashing metal. We kick off with Aggressive Menace. Now that is a brilliant way to kick off an album. Opens with sheer fury. You've got these amazing thrashing riffs and great vocal work from, I believe his name is Colby. Double check myself there. Or Knox Colby. Good vocal performance from this guy. He's got a good sort of, I would say, like a hardcore vocal style, like a thrash vocal style. No, he's not a Bobby Blitz, nor is he a Tom Angel Ripper, but he's got his own pretty consistent vocal style, and it's a good vocal style as well. It's harsh, it's shouting, it's aggressive. But yeah, aggressive menace, brilliant way to kick off the album. Then the thrash is turned up to absolute 11 to the max for the quickening. Second track there, which absolutely rips. It's so good, so thrashing. Right the way through though, there is not a bad track on this album. There's not even a track that's a little bit more forgetful. It just flows so beautifully the whole way through. Hanged by My Hand, great one. Avarice, aggressive, it's got plenty of attitude there. War Remains, the title track, that's got a massive sort of Slayer leaning there. Mercy, Killing Fields, got a good sort of speed metal injection there. Nation of Fear, Ultra Violence, Starve, Empire, all of them brilliant tracks. There's a lot of consistency here. You haven't got like a slow doomy track, nor have you got like a crazy grindcore blasting track, nor have you got an outright death metal track. I would say this is thrash at that extreme end of the spectrum. Certainly, if you like good old Slayer, early Slayer, maybe thinking sort of Hell Awaits through Seasons in the Abyss. If you like that kind of period, if you like more recent reinterpretations of thrash from the likes of Power Trip, if you like good old harsh early Exodus, a little bit of Sodom perhaps, then there's definitely something that you're going to appreciate here. And also there's other bands that I mentioned earlier being on that real extreme end of the spectrum, bands like Demolition Hammer or Morbid Saint. Definitely going to find something in War Remains that you will enjoy. It is a heavy thrashing album. Musically or instrumentally, can't really fault these guys. Those thrashing riffs are blinding at times. I'm talking sort of early Metallica with that first Kill 'Em All album where you had those absolutely blinding riffs, those thrashing riffs that were just an absolute blizzard of riffs. That's the kind of riffing that we get at times here, but we also get some of those good melodic kind of chugging riffs as well. Drumming's faultless, can't really fault that, nor the bass work. It's prominent enough. Don't really like thrash where it's just trying to mimic the sounds of And Justice for All. All of the musicians, the instrumentals, shine through in their own light, as does the vocal work as well. It all kind of merges together pretty seamlessly. And what I will say is, you look at these two artworks, they're very dark. You've got a lot of grey, you've got a lot of black there. It's bleak stuff, and perfectly represents the music. As I said at the start of this review, there's not a huge amount of laughs here. It's very socially aware. There's a lot of political references and references to war and death and killing. However, there's not a huge amount of laughs, but there is a whole host of great tracks and just constant thrashing brilliance. And I would say safely that this is some of the best thrash around in the current scene. I'm not too deep into the thrash underground, but what I do hear coming through, hear a lot of copycats. You hear a lot of bands just, I guess they're just trying to replicate that classic sound and style. They're maybe been listening to a bit too much Metallica, a little bit too much Death Angel, a little bit too much Exodus, and they're just trying to mimic that. You do get a lot of that. So I don't tend to bother with things unless it sounds original, but it's got to sound creative, it's got to sound new. And these guys, Enforced, certainly on War Remains, it has that, it's really refreshing. It sounds really new, but it sounds original. It sounds like a band with their own sound. So that's important to remember. Don't be put off by the fact that, I reference Slayer or Exodus. They're not copycats. They are thrashing like maniacs, but thrashing like young, energetic maniacs at that. So, Enforced, War Remains, tracks that I would definitely check out if you are yet to be convinced. The opening track, Aggressive Menace, I think that's an absolutely brilliant number. Really like Hanged by My Hand. That is a thrashing masterpiece. Also the title track War Remains, and just any of the others. Just give the album a spin. Go on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. Give it a spin. Or better still, order yourself a physical copy, because you will not regret it. So, Enforced, War Remains. Are there any other fans of Enforced out there? Anyone think that actually this is not worth bothering with? Because all the reviews and other things that I've seen of this album and of this band, there's a lot of positive talk. I'm not picking up too many criticism here, which is a damn good thing. So, like to hear the thoughts and opinions of others. As always, of course, do feel free to share. Feel free to like and subscribe as well. Hope you've enjoyed the video. So do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. But take care, my friends. Check out Enforced. Check out War Remains. Check out Kill Grid. Take care and stay heavy.